and welcome to Literary Hype. I am Stephanie here, LiteraryHypeWoman, and today's author conversation is another one I was holding off on sharing with you for a while. Not because this one had a specific date for a book release, just because I felt like it needed to go with Julie and Sierra, because it was filmed at the same time. So this is another conversation that I filmed at Planet Comicon in Kansas City, which is a fabulous convention. If you have never been, I love this convention so much. And so without any further ado, here's my conversation with romance author Lexi Ryan. One of the activities here at Planet Comicon is the Fae Ball that you got to go to. Tell me what that was like last night.
It was really incredible. Everyone looked beautiful. There were lots of big gowns and lots of sparkles and quite a few people dressed as Feyre. The beloved Feyre from the Starfall dress. If you read ACOTAR and you know Starfall, that's a super important scene in the book. And lots and lots of fans there dressed as Feyre, and they looked beautiful. I loved seeing all the different interpretations of one character from one night. And it's fun as a reader, and I do it here at Comic-Con too, that when you glance around and you see someone dressed as a character and know immediately what character from what book they are. It's a little different when you're talking about movies because we all have the same visual, right? But it's fun to be here and last night to see people dressed as, a beloved fictional character and just be able to know, oh, I know right now you have the splattered star spirit on your face, your Feyre from Starfall. So it was really fun.
And your books are kind of deal with some fae too.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
What was it like for you as someone who writes these kind of characters to be in that kind of world, engrossed in that kind of world?
Oh, it was just a lot of fun. Events like that are all about just connecting with people, because to me that's what I love about pop culture in general is the connections. You read a character, and as you read it you become more and more connected to that character. You realize how much you have in common and how this character maybe has a seed in them that is a dark secret that's in you, and other people are also connecting to that. And so I believe that pop culture brings us together in a way that we need in this world where we're all alone at our computers and we pretend to be connected through social media, but maybe it's not a true connection. But these deeper personal things that we connect with in fiction are really where, to me, that's where the magic is.
There's so much magic in your books that are the YA series that you've got out. And one of them was a Goodreads Choice nominee.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to see that level of recognition for your book?
Oh, it was great because, there are all sorts of, metrics of success in this business. And you get greedy, you want them all, but Goodreads is all reader-driven. And readers are the whole reason I have a career. So to me, that means more than anything. I mean, just to know that the readers are behind me meant a lot.
So much fun when you see that, get that little extra buzz from it.
Yeah.
And those books have been selling very well here, apparently.
Yeah. I'm going to run out. I'm sorry.
Is there going to be a third in that series?
Oh, that's a great question. So this is a duology. So Abriella's story is complete as anyone's story can be for someone who lives in such a tumultuous world. There's definitely a lot on her plate, but her big story is complete, and I decided I wanted to go back to that world, and I've actually already written book 1 in a new duology, and so that will be out summer of 24, and it deals with Abriella's sister Jazz and this other character that is a new kind of magic we haven't run into yet, but it's a shifter, a special sort of shifter who Jazz has take her place so that Jazz can go on her little secret mission that her sister would never ever allow her to do while this girl takes her place. And it's all 3 years after this current duology ends. So Jessalyn's 17 now, and she's a year out from 9 months when the book starts out from becoming... Spoilers. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say anymore.
Oops.
Yeah.
They've been out a minute.
Yeah, they have. I was trying to be respectful. I haven't read that that one yet.
That's not the only universe you're returning to. I hear you're also going back to Jackson Harbor.
I am. So I've been lucky to write many series within the contemporary romance realm, and my fan favorite is Jackson Harbor. It's a small fictional town set on the coast of Lake Michigan. I love writing small town. I especially love writing small town where there are lots of outsiders. So my first small town series was set in a fictional town called New Hope. So in New Hope you get the outsiders because it's a big college town. In Jackson Harbor you get kind of the outsiders because it's a tourist town. You know, people like to go to Lake Michigan during the summer, and it's just a very special part of the country to me. I love it. I love big water, and I live in Indiana, so it's close enough to me that I can go get my big water fix in just like 4 hours. And I've loved writing there, and my readers just really fell in love with the family I was writing about, and then the community through that family. So I wanted to go back, they wanted me to go back, and it was a no-brainer.
So you started in contemporary romance,
yeah,
and then now you've done this YA series. What was that like for you to switch genres?
So the truth is, I actually started in paranormal romance. Back in 2009, my first novel came out. 2008, I was published with like a short novella. 2009, my first novel came out with a small press, and the following, like February, I believe, and the following November, the second novel in that same series. And they were like super sexy Charlie's Angels with superpowers. And that was a lot of fun. So paranormal and magic and that kind of thing isn't all new to me. But there just wasn't a big audience for it at that point, and I hadn't really found the best fit for it. Now those books aren't available because I look at them and I'm like, I just want to rewrite them. And you know, there's never enough time. But then I went to contemporary romance, which has always been a love of mine, and have happily written contemporary romance for many years and will continue to do so. But in about 2018, I was dealing with some personal crisis in my life, and the world felt like a dumpster fire, and I fell down the fantasy rabbit hole. It wasn't new to me, you know. I'd read so much urban fantasy back when it was super popular, like in the late 2000s. It was like everywhere you looked there was a new urban fantasy series, but I just couldn't get enough fantasy, and then I realized I just need to kill some bad guys. Like I felt very much like Bree in book 1, where she just like, hope feels dangerous, but like really there is, I needed to go on that journey with her to know that there was like always something worth hoping for. And so the decision to do it kind of came out of a personal need. In fact, at first I thought, well, I want to write this for me. Maybe I'll throw it up on Wattpad, and you know, that way I get to write it and I still have an audience, because I'm not the author that's like, oh, I'll write things and I'll shove them under my bed, and I like the community connections part. I want readers. So I was like, if I don't have an opportunity or a platform to publish fantasy romance, maybe I'll just find one of these other platforms to do it. But then I sent the concept to my agent, and he was like, I said, do you think anybody would want this? Do you think? And he was like, I know 4 editors, just without even thinking, that would want to read it right now. So I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And then I dove in, and it was super fun, but also super scary, because I have so much experience in contemporary romance that I have a lot of confidence in my ability to pull it off, right? I'd never written high fantasy before, and I have so many authors that I adore in the genre, and it just, you know, you have self-doubt. And so around that time, I was drafting this in 2018, late 2018, early 2019, and around that time there was a thing going around like on Twitter that was like, if you're stuck write in Comic Sans, because you can't take yourself too seriously in Comic Sans, which is true. So I drafted book 1 mostly in Comic Sans, which is not my favorite font, but I had to get out of my head. I'm like, the whole reason you're doing this is to have fun, because you want to tell this story. Quit trying to be anything but what you are. You're writing a Lexi Ryan story. It just happens to have magic in it. It just happens to have this big world, but it's still a Lexi Ryan story with the same themes and needs and heart at the center of it. So quit trying to, like, I just needed to make sure I was being me and not trying to be something I'm not. And so that definitely helps you not take yourself too seriously. Luckily by book 2, I didn't have to resort to that nonsense.
So clearly that was the biggest challenge, was just getting out of your head. So I was going to ask about your biggest challenge, but you got and you started off as an English professor.
Yeah.
What was it like making that jump from grading papers to writing yourself?
Oh, man. So I've always wanted to be a writer. I decided I was going to be an author when I was in 2nd grade. I don't think I really knew or understood what that meant at that time. Because honestly, I wasn't even a big reader until junior high when I discovered romance. I read. I was always in like the gifted and talented classes, so we were required to read quite a bit. But I wasn't that person who always had a book in my face until I discovered romance novels. And then it was romance, and it was Anne Rice, and I just couldn't get enough. And then I was a big, oh man, now it's like, yeah, that's why I had this feeling that I wanted to be an author, like this, because this is what I want to do. I want to give this feeling to everybody. And in the meantime, I went to college and I was an English major, and my mom was like, what are you going to do with that? And I'm like, I'm going to write. And she's like, but what are you going to do with that? You know, like, I'm going to spend all this money on college. And she's like, you got to get a job. And I was so irritated with her. Kids, be nice to your moms. Because now I'm a mom and I'm like, okay, we got to have a job after college. I always said that if I couldn't write full time, then I wanted to be in the classroom. I love being in the classroom. But you mentioned grading, and I hate grading, and anybody who teaches English does. I mean, like, it's just so overwhelming, and you spend so many hours doing it. So the whole time I was an English professor, I started as an adjunct, teaching a little at this college and a little at that college, and then I got a faculty position at the statewide community college in Indiana. And it was a great job, and I loved my students, and I loved being in the classroom. But I still desperately wanted to be published and to write full time. Like, not even to just be published, but to write full time. And I mentioned those 2 paranormal novels I wrote for a small press. Well, it was very clear after that 2nd book that that would never give me the career I was going to have, that I was really searching for. And I had kids at the time, you know, like I had a full-time job, I had kids, and I really felt like I needed to justify how I was spending all this time writing, and earning $500 to $1,000 per book was not it. So I decided in 2012 that I was going to give self-publishing a try, because I had friends who were with big traditional publishers and not making any money, and they were like, I like this, and here are all the reasons I like this. And I thought, well, you're legitimate. So if you're legitimate and you're doing this, then maybe it's okay if I do it too. And that was really my way to find readers and to get into it. So I started that in 2012, and by spring of 2013, I was able to resign from my faculty position and write full time, because I'd found enough of an audience and I was selling enough books to more than cover my salary, because we weren't wanting to be a one-income household. So yeah, it's rough these days, you know, and it was a very scary jump. I think it was scarier for my husband than it was for me, because he was the one with the steady job. But it's gone better than I ever could have hoped for, and better than I ever could have asked for, honestly. And at the beginning, it was just blind faith, and then it becomes, because there's just so many ups and downs, and then it just becomes sheer persistence and will and willingness to pivot when the market shifts, and willingness to try new things. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. I came into it at a great time for what I was writing, and it went better than I ever could have asked for. So it was a wonderful transition, but also a scary one. It's been 10 years this spring, and I still have that, like, what if it all goes away? What if it all goes away and I have to find a job? But I think it's all right. I think it's doing all right.
What's your advice to other young authors that are wanting to get started as independent writers, but are kind of scared too?
Well, my first piece of advice is you've got to finish the book. I mean, like, I know a lot of people who are making all these big plans. I can't say I know. I meet a lot of people who are making all these big plans for publishing, and I love that, and I love the business side of it, but nothing matters as much as the book. You can have the best Twitter campaign and the best TikTok viral video, but at the end of the day, if the book doesn't hold up, your viral video it's going to flash in the pan, right? And then once you get the book out, nothing matters as much as the next book. And the next book is what sells your last book. And I'm not saying to not do all of the things and to not do the promotions and the newsletter swaps and the Facebook group drop-ins. I mean, you can do all of that, but never value anything over writing the next book. You got to do both sometimes, but the writing is the first thing you need to do.
Christina Lauren has a new book coming out this spring.
Can't wait. I'm such a Christina Lauren fangirl. Like, those ladies are amazing. They're so sweet. I've been lucky enough to meet them. Lauren bought me a glass of wine once, and so that's like my only claim to fame. I was like, oh. No, but they're wonderful, and I was a fangirl long before I met them. They're just so talented.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So in their new book, True Love Experiment, we have a romance writer as the lead, and she gets asked a lot of ridiculous questions. And so, like, in their acknowledgments, they talk about the dumb questions people ask romance writers. What is the most ridiculous question you have been asked about writing romance?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question, but first I want to say how jealous I am that you've read the book and I haven't. I'm so jealous.
So good.
I cannot wait to read it. I'm serious. I mean, they're at the top. Anyway, so I meet people on planes going to this event or that event, and the most ridiculous questions, by and large, I'm sorry, come from men. And you're just someone sitting next to you. You're stuck together. You're going somewhere. You end up, where are you going? What are you doing? And so they find out that I write romance novels, and they want to know, well, is your husband okay with that? Is my husband okay with that? I mean, first of all, yes. But, like, really? And it's really interesting to see. It's really a cultural thing when it comes to our ideas about women and women being comfortable with their sexuality, and this idea that, like, well, if you are writing sexy scenes in your books, does your husband feel jealous? Does he feel like you're? And I'm like, no. Like, why would he? Because he's confident. Of course it doesn't bother him. But so you can kind of feel out. It's terrible. I'm not psychoanalyzing everyone I meet, but when you get some of these ridiculous questions, it says more about the person who's asking the question than it says about you. And so you just kind of, okay, look sideways and answer the question and move on. The other ridiculous question I get asked all the time, and it's no one's fault because they just don't know if they don't do it, is, oh, you're writing another book already? Yes. It's my full-time job. I'm writing another book already, always, you know. But I thought you just finished one. Yes. And if I didn't start writing another book already, you need to kick me in the butt because it's my job.
I mean, people don't really realize how slow publishing is as a whole.
Yes, how slow it is and how long it takes to write a book. You know, we have this, like, glamorous notion of, oh, you go up into a cabin for a couple weeks and you, like, knock it out and there's the book, you send it to your editor and voila, you know, now you have this product. And it's like, no, I mean, I'll run away on writing retreats and hole up in a hotel, but that's like when I already have 80,000 words and I need to put the mess I've made into a book-looking thing, you know, and it's certainly not getting all knocked out in one weekend or 2 weeks or anything like that. Some people write that fast, and that's awesome for them. Most of us don't. Most of us, even long before we start putting words on the page, we're working on it up here.
Thinking counts as writing.
It is so important. And during the pandemic, I realized how little credit I was giving to the thinking time, because I would have told you pre-pandemic that all I needed was somebody to be taxi for my kids, and that I spend so much time running them around. All I need is, like, less time in the car. And then my kids were home all the time and we weren't going anywhere, and I sit down to write and I'm like, why is this taking so long? Well, because you haven't had all of that thinking time. When you sit in the car and you're driving and you have music on, the wheels are turning and you're getting writing done. I mean, yeah, it's not words on a page yet, but that time was necessary. So I think I undervalued it until I didn't really have it. And then I realized, okay, sitting and just staring at the ceiling, thinking, sitting and contemplating, would I do this? Would I do that? What happens next? What if this? What if that? Sketching in a notebook, all of that stuff that feels like it's not writing is so necessary to the process. And it wasn't until I changed my routine that I realized, okay, this is part of it.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Any other projects coming out?
Really, the two things I'm working on right now are the first book in the new duology. I'm working on revisions for that, so I'm super excited. I was scared to talk about it because I have dual protagonists, and I kept worrying that I was going to send it to my editor at HarperCollins, and she was going to be like, let's cut one of these. But she loves it, so that's good. And then I'm working on the new Jackson Harbor series, the first book in that series. So lots of good stuff coming at a bit slower pace than I used to write because I've got some aging family and kids at the same time, and just trying to fit everything in. But I have found that readers are really awesome. They're really awesome about not I used to put out 3 to 4 books a year, and now it's 2. I would rather it be 3. But they have just been so incredible about, we're here when you're ready, and we'll come back, and it's so scary to slow down your pace, but I've been really, really lucky that it's still worked out.
Final question, because this is Literary Hype, what books are you most hyped about right now?
Okay, so you talked about the True Love Experiment. I'm super hyped about that, and I want to scream from the rooftops about the new Rebecca Yarros novel that's coming out in May. It's called Fourth Wing. I got to read an early copy I was reading it over Thanksgiving, and I tell people I didn't want to decorate for Christmas because I didn't want to put the book down, and they're like, yeah, I never want to do it, and my husband's like, no, you don't understand. When it's time to decorate for Christmas, we pull out all the bins and we decorate, and I'm usually the only one who touches the Christmas tree. And this year I was telling my daughter, don't you want to do that? Because I did not want to put the book down. It is everything. It is Hunger Games in a college level, Harry Potter-esque in terms of the big world building and education world building and the viciousness of Hunger Games with dragons. I can't, oh my gosh, and a love interest and enemies to lovers it is everything, and it's going to be so huge. I am telling you, I read it, I was 3 chapters in, and I was talking to my husband, I was like, babe, this book is going to go places. It's so good. And I can't talk about it enough. And I'm excited for it to come out, not so I can read it because I've already read it, but because I want the world to read it so that I have more people to talk to about it. I cannot wait for more from Rebecca in fantasy and more in the series. And it's true fangirl hype. I mean, I read it because Rebecca's a friend of mine and I wanted to do a nice thing for her. And then I was like, oh no, I can't be your friend anymore because now I'm your fangirl.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah, I love it. It feels so good to have a book that's coming out that I can be people come to my table. Yesterday, at least 3 times, somebody was at my table and we were talking about books, and I was like, write this down, put it on your radar. And I know that it's not even going to be a problem because so many people are going to talk about this book that it'll be on their radar anyway. But I want people to read about it so we can talk about it. That's what you want. Again, that pop culture connection. I love watching TV shows that everyone else is watching. I love reading books that everyone else is reading because I want us to talk about it. I want that connection there. So
it's so easy to make friends at conventions because you already have something in common.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time here at Planet Comicon.
Yay, you're welcome. Thank you for coming over. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks again to Lexi for getting up early, right after staying up late for Planet Comicon shenanigans so we could have this conversation. I appreciate her time so much, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation and you can check out her books, because now you're intrigued, right? If you're intrigued, those links to get them are down below in the description, as well as where to find Lexi on social media, as well as where to find me on social media. There's a lot of information and fun stuff in the description, so definitely check that out. And don't forget to like and subscribe, as usual, as every YouTuber tells you. It is important. There's a reason that everybody says that. So like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.